Well, here we are, destination Mababe, Botswana. It's early in the morning, 6:05, and we're leaving Maun. And it was a beautiful sunrise. This is just one of the little villages before we leave Maun. And the last village on the tar road is Shirobi. And we leave that tar road, and it's then 25 kilometers of, honestly, the worst, bumpiest road, all the way to the veterinary gate. We have got this awful road. It rattles your bones. To show this hole coming up in the road, it gives you an idea of what this road looks like underwater in the rainy season, because those kind of holes are just covered by water and you don't see them. The turn off to Moremi Game Reserve. But yeah, the corrugated roads took their toll, and this is not the first time this has happened, but our battery rattled loose. Normally there's some wooden spaces that help hold it in, but they just rattled out. So time for a little coffee. Well, by the time the coffee was made, I'd jerry-rigged the battery back together again. And there's a good reminder, always bring a toolbox with you. Um, you will need it on these roads at some point or another. It is just so bumpy. Something is bound to rattle loose. So this was exciting, lion tracks, and that was our first sign that we're really back in the wilds. They were quite fresh actually. Those lion tracks must have been in the morning. Just past the village of Sankuyu, we see our first elephant of the journey. It's always an exciting sighting. You feel that you've arrived, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And it wasn't much later we found this giraffe. Really chill, actually. And this was now at the turnoff to Dihit's camp, and we found this little tortoise. Right by this tortoise was actually some leopard tracks that had pulled. You can see the marks of it pulling its kill across the road. But yeah, this was the Dihitsa turnoff to the Dihitsa community camp. And as you will see, absolutely beautiful, lots of wildlife, but unfortunately, we were planning to camp here, but we found the whole place abandoned. Apparently, the pumps had stopped working, there was no water, and basically everyone abandoned the camp. But a beautiful place to camp, and I'm sure it will be up and running soon. And here was the abandoned campsite, and as you can see, not in a good condition. No one at the staff village, and so we knew it was time to move on to the other community camp, which is Tshaa camp on the other side of Mababe. honestly the greatest feeling ever to finally arrive at our campsite, Camp 1 of the Tshaa camps. And we're greeted by an elephant just browsing, I don't know, browsing, grazing, munching away on the other side of the river. And it is a beautiful campsite. The campsite. And here's our toilet. First of all, by this beautiful big old tree. I've actually got a tap. See how it works. Water. It's good. They got these little wood boilers there, donkey boilers, to bring hot water to the showers. To be honest, it's a bit too hot now for a hot shower, but there's a little toilet, a little sink. Water. And then you can see the little shower over there. And the shower. Toilet. They're really beautiful big campsites. So after setting up camp, it was time to make a little game drive. And you can see here on the map the route that we took. There is a road along the river, but we didn't know it existed. So we head out along this road, which ultimately joins the cut line. It's not a very big cut line, it's more like just a very deep sandy road. But as you can see, it comes to the end here. Interestingly, there's a little generator for a lodge or something right at the end. But you turn off this road and it just runs along this like floodplain along the river. You can see there's that abandoned camp that we stopped on the way in, which is obviously on the other side of the river. But absolutely beautiful scenery, lots of game. On this little loop we didn't find any cats, but we saw buffalo and obviously giraffe and zebra. It was really beautiful to do that loop. So it was a big loop which we would drive some of the following days as well. So after an absolutely beautiful game drive, it was time to get home, watch the sunset with a gin and tonic, and put dinner on, which was steak, potatoes, and garlic bread. And this campsite at Tshaa Camp 1 is so beautiful. It's situated right on the river, and as you can see, you just get this really amazing sunsets because of just the way that it's located. So, a beautiful camp to sit and watch the sunset, and cook some dinner. The next morning, we woke up to a beautiful sunrise, and we were eager to head out. We didn't even make coffee. We planned we would stop along the way and make our coffee for the morning, but we just wanted to get out as early as possible. That's why to do survive. We soon found a little spot for our sunrise coffee and got the tea box out and got some coffee on the go. There's nothing quite like watching the sunrise with a good hot cup of coffee. Normally we make coffee in the morning before we leave camp, but we were maybe a little bit too eager to rush out of camp and see if we could find any cats moving about in the early morning. Didn't find the cats, but we did find a really beautiful sunrise and a beautiful sunrise spot, which was in this little opening along the Khwai River. I wanted him to stand there because it would have made an epic picture. I must say, on this trip we saw actually a lot of zebra. They're not very common in some of these areas. It's funny with zebra. Sometimes you see so many, and then just sometimes you'll like see one or two. But this trip we definitely saw our full of zebra. Well, after a morning game drive, it was time to head back to camp, and we definitely needed a good breakfast. And so that was the plan. Cook up a nice bacon and eggs breakfast with some toast on the fire. with breakfast done, we cleaned up, washed up our dishes, which is so nice having a tap in camp. And then we had a nap until 1 o'clock when we decided to drive to Khwai. We decided to drive to Mokotlo camp, which is this area known as Dead Tree Forest. We said it's 1 o'clock, which is not an ideal time for a game drive, and from a Tshaa camp to Mokotlo, it's 18 kilometers. And actually, the roads were okay. And as you can see, we soon found lion tracks, which made us super excited. And as you can see here, we are dropping down into Mokotlo. The first visitor, well, is it a visitor? The first guy to greet us was a big old elephant. After talking to a safari guide, we heard rumors that there'd been lions on the Chobe cut line. And so we decided that as the sun was moving across the sky and it was about 3 o'clock, we would go and see if we could find any sign of them. And as you can see on the map, there's the cut line. And we drove all along the river until we came to this cut line, and we drove up from the cut line. And you see on the map here, there's this little crossroad, and it was there that we ultimately found lion tracks. And after searching up and down a bit, we found the lions lying right next to the road. Just here by this little waterhole is where we found them, and you'll see a little bit more about that as we go along. It was interesting because there were other people looking for these lions, and they drove right past him like 3 times, and yet he was just lying right next to the road, as you can see here. After spending some time with this guy, we drove down the road a bit to make a cast of his footprints. I like using plaster cast, and as you can see, I got a nice cast, but it took a long time for that cast to dry. And in fact, it was while we were waiting for that cast to dry, uh, the lion decided to come down the road and see what we were doing. So he came down, in fact, just in front of him where he is about now. That's where my cast was drying, and we were just on the other side of this water hole, parked there waiting for it to dry and seeing if anything would come by. And yeah, sure enough, this lion came by, and as you will see, he wasn't the only lion around. We were very fortunate with this sighting, and we were able to spend a good 20 to 30 minutes sitting with these lions before other safari vehicles arrived. And so with the arrival of the other safari vehicles, it was our time to go, and so we didn't hang around much. We just got on the road with the light with the light disappearing really fast. We wanted to get back to camp, and so we head on home. It was a okay drive, but it was getting dark, and by the time we got back to camp, we were just a little bit tired, and so got that fire going and got dinner cooking. We woke up that morning and started getting ready to pack up. But first things first, coffee, and then we had to get that tent down. And in between this, we managed to get in a nice cold shower. I must say the showers were beautiful at this campsite, and we really enjoyed using them. There's a hot water geyser where you can make a fire to have hot water, but the weather was so warm, we just had nice cold showers, and it was okay. But the ground was a bit damp, so there we are, sweeping away, getting the tent clean. And that was the end of our journey to Mababe. And packed up, fueled up, we said goodbye to Tshaa Camp 1 and head on home back to Maun. I will say, on the way we did see a leopard, so that was really a beautiful end to a really great trip. Thanks so much for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and all that. It actually really does make a difference, and now that I've started making videos. But thank you.